It's a Thursday. I'm MrWarrenHayes. So of course that means that we have the elements that we need to have an AEW Dynamite review. Hi, welcome. This is what we do on Thursdays. We recap the previous night's Dynamite, and we are going to be talking about the July 19 Dynamite, since today I am recording this on July 20. You see how all this comes together and just makes a perfect amount of sense when you line them up all one next to each other? Isn't life grand like that? Welcome. I hope you are having a wonderful week so far and that you enjoyed AEW Dynamite. We're going to be talking about that. But first, leave a like or on the YouTube channel here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Or even if you, on top of it all, not just leave a like, but hey, subscribe. There's a bunch of things going on the channel these days and for the next couple of weeks. Because yes, I don't know if you know this. There's the AEW Dynamite review that I do every Thursday. Then on Sundays, I do the AEW Collision review, right? And I do that every Sunday as well. So right then and there, if you're into AEW and you want to hear my thoughts, well, that's what you do. Of course, there's, the Mr. MrWarrenHayes show proper on Tuesdays. But on top of it all, right now I'm doing a G1 Climax 33 daily recap show. So I'm doing the whole thing from A to Z. I've started, we've got 4 nights in. I'm going to be back tomorrow, July 21st, to do that day. And if you want, results, analysis, thoughts, predictions, not maybe predictions, but prognostications. How about that? That's a better word. Well, you want to do that. So subscribing to the channel on YouTube or even on your audio feed as well, following, joining, subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, the whole 9 yards. If you're going to get a ton of content, ton of great wrestling content from your boy. It's a busy time of year. It's a fun time of year. Wrestling rules. And if you love wrestling, I'm your destination source. How about that? Well, I pat myself on the back a little harder than what I usually do. I'm your destination source if you're into pro wrestling. Now that I got all these selling points out of it, I'm looking at myself and, if you're not watching this right now, you don't see how fucking scruffy my beard is right now. I'm letting myself go. It's a disaster. Hey, let's talk about last night's Dynamite before we get into things that I shouldn't be getting into on a public forum regarding my hygiene. July 19, 2023, from the TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. 8,520 distributed tickets, according to WrestleTix, as of a few minutes before I started recording this. And they had set up the arena for just shy of 9,500 seats. Look, this is a better turnout for a Dynamite taping than what they usually do. The median is around 4,000 tickets, 3,500, 4,000. That's usually what they do. So, the tickets started, were moving before the Blood and Guts match was ever announced. But when they did, we saw a little uptick. There was a little more juice to it that was really exciting. And this feud is on fumes. This feud of the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club is on fumes, or so I've been told by multiple people, that I've heard like this level of discourse that this feud is uninteresting now. It's boring. No one's into it, right? These sweeping statements. No one is into this feud, and yet this is a very good TV taping gate. Very good Dynamite gate for All Elite Wrestling on a Wednesday night. 8,520 distributed is very good. They have to be happy with the number. Because this is what it was for. Once they announced the Blood and Guts and it was the Elite versus the BCC, tickets started moving more than they already were. So I don't know who's sitting around going, here's the thing about, and it's interesting because I was having a discussion just before coming on in regards to, talking about, criticism, right? specifically in wrestling, right? But and the thing that I've come to learn to do, and I'm not going to say that I was perfect out of the get-go, and I think it's the more you do it, the more you're able to make your hand at it. But when it comes to criticism, one thing I've learned is to make it clear when things are about you or myself, it's one things that are about me, let's put it that way, and yet remain fair to what is observable when things are working against your tastes. Okay? I think, we can directly point to the Acclaimed. If you've listened to my reviews in the past, the Acclaimed stuff, I don't particularly care for it. It's not for me. I like when they wrestle. I like Anthony Bowens. I think Max Caster's improved, and good for Billy Gunn for getting for getting this kind of push / run at the very least. At this stage in his career, like, this is all fantastic stuff, and I can appreciate these things because these are observable things that you're like, I can be, and they're things that come more than observable. They speak more to me than the shtick and the rap music videos and the scissor me stuff, which is not for me. But observably, I can't shit on the thing because it's working, because it's one of the most over acts in the company. Got themselves, I've put the Acclaimed over so much on this review, you'd swear I was a fan, but it's not for me. I appreciate the efforts. I like the guys. I see what's happening, but the act in and about itself doesn't speak to me. But I can't sit here logically and honestly and tell you, hey, I'm providing you with analysis, and tell you, you know what, the Acclaimed shit sucks. I can't. That's not proper analysis. That's not proper criticism. So when I see people who place themselves in the quote unquote wrestling space as knowledgeable or have analysis, and the thing that they're talking about is, how overwrought the Elite feud has been, the Elite and the BCC feud has been, and how tired we are about it, and how no one cares about it, and how it's on fumes. And it has been systematically the most interesting thing on AEW television for the past months. Even going back into April, whenever this started to bubble up, it was the most interesting thing they had going. It's a thing that popped quarter hours, and it's a thing that moved tickets. We have proof. This was the blow off. This is clearly, we're going to talk about the match itself. But again, I want you to listen to reason to like, there are folks who are unable to separate their feelings from the observable things that are working. I could sit here and tell you, if I really felt it, Elite BCC feud kind of stinks, but geez, it's doing good business. So you can't say it's running on fumes. You can't say no one is into it. Those are things that are observably incorrect, because the data will prove the opposite. The crowd reactions will prove the opposite. Everything in this Elite BCC feud was fantastic and has delivered some of the best matches in AEW this year. One of the best matches on Forbidden Door this year was a BCC Elite match. We have to stop with this. We have to stop pretending that just because you don't like something means that it is, observably bad. Both are possible. You can dislike something, but realize that despite that, it's still working. There's still something positive to glean out of it. That is possible, and that is good criticism. And yes, I'm going to be doing this today, as opposed to last night. This is why and again, this is another reason why I don't like doing the instant reaction thing. And again, I'm not shitting on people who do. I don't shit on people who do post shows, and there's an audience for that. And look, in any way, shape, or form am I not sitting here? I am not sitting here to say that all, post shows are worthless. Jesus, that's how I got started. But I'm at a stage where I like to sleep on it, like to wake up fresh the next morning, reread my notes because I take a shitload of notes. And you know what? Okay, and just place things together in my head and come up with something that I feel is maybe closer to a well-rounded opinion as opposed to this sucked. Because last night, if I had sit down immediately after the show, there's probably some things that I would have just outright dismissed. I had time to absorb, to think. Sleeping on it, man. Hot take culture has poisoned us. Taking the time to have a well-rounded, thoughtful opinion is good. I already need a sip of water. We're 11 minutes in. I'm going to tell you, this show felt like, and I hate to use the term, and I want to make it clear that I'm using this term as a comparison as opposed to something that should be included in the vernacular, in the jargon, right? This show felt like the end of a season. It felt like a season conclusion. Because I feel like next week, because of everything that happened here, we're going to start out fresh with a whole bunch of stuff and start building to the August shows. Well, all in, look, bear with me. All Out is not in August, but they're a week separated. Bear with me, please. But I feel like this is how it wrapped up, right? And I don't want to say, it's the season conclusion of, or, WWE uses that, and I find it cringe as hell when they do it. When they talk about, the season, the season beginning of, anyway, I don't remember the exact term. It's stupid. I've been watching TV all my life, and it's like I don't remember the exact term, the new season of. It doesn't matter. But it does. But my point being is that there's a lot of things that feel wrapped up, or we have significant bumps to move us into new territory, new things. This felt like an important show for AEW. And there's a lot of shit that was happening here. We're going to get into it. FTW title match started off. Jack Perry defeated Hook to claim his very first singles gold in AEW, despite the fact that the FTW title is unsanctioned by AEW, but he still got it. He defeated Hook. Not only did he win the title, but he snapped Hook's winning streak. Those are two, those are two accomplishments that now belong exclusively to Jack Perry, and I thought this match ruled. I was shocked at how much it ruled, actually. Because I thought it was going to be a little rough. I think Hook Hook has an incredible base. And, we can't even talk about fundamentals. This kid gets it, right? He's still a rookie. He's still learning the ropes. He's learning on the job in AEW. This is a guy who hit the house show circuit when they were doing the things, right? And he was working 8, 9, 10-minute matches with Ethan Page. I mean, if you want a solid guy to work off of, Page he's a fantastic candidate. I'm sure those were great experiences for Hook. So, I was kind of, I was a little worried, but you know what? Big Match Jack showed up. That's one thing. And Hook was fantastic. I think two fronts. First of all, this was Hook's longest match in AEW, right? At 11 minutes and 40 seconds, according to Cage Match. But it is his longest match, and quite frankly, this was his best match. Now, did Jack Perry have a bit to do with this? Unquestionably. Like I said, Big Match Jack showed up. And when Big Match Jack shows up, when there's a big match, he shows up and he delivers and over-delivers. This match was really good. And before the match started, Jack Perry had a vignette where he's in the desert burying Jungle Boy. And he's not just burying the gear, right? You see a scene where he's dragging, you see the boots dragging, but you see like there's ankles in there. You can see the tibias. He's dragging the corpse of Jungle Boy and dropping him in the desert. Gets picked up by a limo. He stares at himself intently and says, "Is this what I've become?" Puts on his sunglasses. Yes, this is what I've become. Jack Perry has a thing for burials, right? He buried a thing. No, he opened up. Well, he buried Christian Cage, right? And then he had a vignette where he was digging his grave. Maybe low key, this might become a thing for Jack Perry. Being this guy's, where he starts doing this kind of stuff. But listen, even if I think Jack Perry's heel stuff so far has been so-so, I didn't care, especially for his, his opening heel salvo a couple of weeks ago after Forbidden Door. I thought the car chase gimmicks were a little tiresome. But I think this stuff here, this audience, despite what I thought, this audience was into Hook beating his ass. This crowd, this Boston crowd, was ready for Jack Perry to get his ass beat. And Jack was bumping. He took those barricade spots. You go back and you look at them and you're like, Christ, this is nuts. Hook he does a T-bone suplex off of the apron onto the floor. So we're bumping here. Dripping DDT by Perry on the floor. Hook mounts his comeback, lands a couple of Germans. And then there's a first ref distraction, which allows like a low blow, one of the leg low blows. The ref doesn't see it, but Hook manages to stay alive. He avoids a pin. But then there's a proper ref bump, and then the TNT title gets involved. Before that, there's actually a visual pin where Hook covers Jack Perry, gets the visual pin. I think that was important. And then Perry cracked the belt across his head, got the win. And he got the win with such a shit-eating grin. Listen, I like Perry's mannerisms in this match. I feel like I think he's transitioned very cleanly into a good in-ring heel. I think that, his mic work, his presence still has work to do, when he's not wrestling. But wrestling, he gets how to wrestle as a heel. You can't fault him here. I enjoyed his heel work in this match much more than anything they've done so far to try to convince me this guy's a heel. I got it. He's great. I thought this was fantastic. Look, if he cleans up his promos, we may have something here. We may be on to something tremendous with a heel Jack Perry. And Hook is fine. Hook is absolutely fine. First loss since he debuted in AEW. Let's get real here. He's absolutely okay. And they might, let him do a rematch. I'd be into it. Get a little more heat on it. This is good. This was good. This was very, very good. And I am still kind of hoping, I'm not going to lie, when this finished, I was kind of crossing my fingers, hoping that Christian Cage and Luchasaurus was going to come out and that Christian Cage was going to do one of these, and he and Perry were going to hug, and Christian Cage he has to say, if it ever happens, he has to say these words. He says, "Welcome home, son." Kind of, because I still think there's value in this. It makes sense in the story, because Christian Cage, all he wanted from Jungle Boy was to show some life, right? He wanted him to show some gumption, some spark. Wanted to get him to the next level. Do you have the killer instinct? Now he has the killer instinct. Christian Cage should welcome him back. I think and you continue pairing him with Christian, off of which Perry could pick up so many things when it comes to promo work, because Christian is, he's one of these untouchable guys. But now I'm daydreaming. Let's go back to the show. We have Alex Marvez, Al Scoops, who's secretly filming meetings between Don Callis and Chris Jericho. I'm pretty sure that's illegal. I'm pretty sure, like, if I were to whip out my phone and start, secretly, well, I don't know if it's illegal, but it's poor form, right? Anyway. Should have put it on TikTok. And after the commercial, he runs up to Callis and Jericho, who are arriving at the same time from within the same limo at the arena, which happened earlier today. Yeah, listen, I mean, this is, little basic storytelling things and, cameras and vignettes and I don't know. I like it, but I'm just weary. I'm just weary of them. We cut back to commentary. Taz is upset. He's selling the loss of his son. Well, not the loss of his son, but his son's loss. In phrasing. Don't want to give the impression that anyone died here. Then we get the whole MJF Adam Cole thing. And the restaurant thing, spicy, you have a fear of spicy food. A fear of spicy food. You have, look, there's phobias for everything. So I'm not going to try and call this out as bizarre. Have you ever watched the Maury episodes where there was this chick who had a phobia of aluminum foil? Like, she had a fear of aluminum foil. Now, I know a lot of the, Maury at some point, he started hiring Craigslist actors, and just like, Springer used to do. But look, I don't know why I'm talking about that. It was just stupid. And it's always something that stuck with me. Like, of all the stupid ass Maury episodes that were out there that I used to watch when I was like, when I was in university, or, when I was, on paternity leave. Of all the stupid ones that were out there, this is the one that sticks to me. The woman who had a phobia of aluminum foil. I'm like, how is this even, like, I still don't understand it to this day. And I haven't bothered Googling it or looking it up, because I kind of want to stay with this feeling that this is insane and I don't understand it. When I mean insane, I mean just like completely out of left field. I don't understand. It makes no sense. How can anyone develop a fear of aluminum foil? What were we talking about? Oh yeah, MJF's fear of spice. Look, I'm not going to break down the thing, okay? I'm really not. You've watched it. I think that this is a fair and mostly an objective criticism here. I believe this restaurant vignette is the worst of the three they've done. I thought it was stupid. Right? What was the thing with the, breathe through your mouth because it's hot kind of thing? And you have them doing like pulling faces and exhaling, too much. And I think it's dumb. I thought it was dumb. It wasn't funny. Like, it just wasn't funny. I don't even know it wasn't edited in a way that was funny either. It was just guys breathing in and out. I don't think that was well done. How was that funny? Is it, unless it's like a reference I'm not getting? Was it a reference? Even if it's a reference, it can't be funny. Even if it's a reference to something, maybe it makes it even less funny, because you're like, wow, they absolutely failed on that one, because it in its essence, in its core, it's not funny. But look, I'll say this. This is crucial, and I think I brought this up last week, and I'm going to bring it up again, because especially off the heels of a very bad vignette, despite the nonsense that happens in the match, the story they're telling about their bromance and the chemistry that they've developed is working in ring and with their backstage promos much more effectively than with the fucking vignettes. The vignettes are a waste. Because then they get backstage, they got a backstage interview where they're trading, they have matching gear. You know, Max made trunks, he calls them trizunks. I will admit I popped when he says trizunks. I'm like, why did you have to go carny? Why did you pull, carny lingo? Why are you doing this and you have them in your hand? Trizunks. I thought that was funny. That was for me. I thought that was funny. And then Adam Cole has the matching jackets and they're like, oh, look at us, That was much more effective than mouth breathing because of hot wings at a Chinese takeaway place. Who cares? That was bad. The promo backstage, that was effective. The shenanigans that they do in the ring, MJF being Ricky Morton and, to the Robert Gibson, fantastic. The dance off, you guys, you don't have to ask me, and, I'm not going to spend 10 minutes ranting on it, but I can't stand that shit. There's a perfectly good wrestling promotion out there that gives you dance-offs and arm wrestling matches and all sorts of bullshit that you can tune into. I don't need this on Dynamite. Dynamite is supposed to be on alternative. That shit stunk, and I don't want to see it. That's all I'm gonna say about it. It was bad. Everything else worked. Outside of me being worried about more and more encroaching on, more and more encroachment on of sports entertainment into AEW, the match was fine. It was entertaining, got the crowd into it. And Garrett Kidney was chatting last night. He put up a good point. I'm going to give him full credit because it's interesting that not that long ago, AEW was using sports entertainment as a bad thing, as a heel thing, but now we're actually doing sports entertainment for the cheers and appreciation of the live crowd, of the audience, right? It's an interesting slope that we've been on, isn't it? How did we go from sports entertainment bad to sports entertainment good now? It's very interesting. Anyway, the in-ring, again, it's tons of shtick, but you cannot deny that this shit is over, that people are out of their seats, they're popping, they're going nuts. You can't deny that. Even though I'm like, all right, okay, let's just go in that. I think we all kind of see through what's going to happen here. Like eventually, one of these guys is going to turn, and it'll probably be MJF, because that's his thing. When they get in the ring and they do the shtick and they do the double clothesline and they do all this stuff, it works. And listen, if we end up getting a hot feud because this great team was split apart and we end up getting a hot feud where we get two guys who want to tear the hell out of each other, I'm fine with that. I am more than fine. This is what I'm looking forward to. I get this is because again, look, I'm seeing bloodline lovers out there saying splitting up the team right now would be booking malpractice, essentially. A problem. It would be gross negligence. But the bold thing Tony Khan can do here is not fall into this idea that this has to be this long, stretched out story. He's building up a hot act that is going to end in disaster for the two and is going to help fuel their singles match. And this does not have to be drawn out for months. This is the bold thing that Tony Khan should do. While everyone else is saying, you should drag this out for months and so on and so on, I say don't. I say don't wait till the act starts getting cold or cooler. Because listen, just as hot as this flame is burning right now, this odd couple thing will burn out just as quickly with the fans. It really, honestly will. Because if you think for a second that the bloodline has been fire the entire way, it has not. It has not been good the entire way. We can pinpoint exactly where it started to get consistently good and when it started making business for WWE. But it's not because, and WWE, in fact, is one of the worst offenders as to when to kill a storyline, because they usually do not know when to do it. They don't know when to move it on to, like, WWE is absolutely 100% the worst storytellers. Absolutely the worst. They don't know when to stop a story. They don't know when to create bumps for it. They're terrible at it. Despite what everyone wants to tell you, they are bad at it. So here, I believe the opposite is what you should do. Bring it to a fever pitch. That was very much a fever pitch, what we saw last night. Can we get hotter than that? I don't know. We're going to get the collision match in a couple of weeks against FTR, and I think that's where you pull the trigger, and I think that's where you build Adam Cole versus MJF for one of your two all-out shows, all out, all in, whichever one. But you have to start doing something. And I think it's going to be perfect moving forward. No, don't stretch this out. Be bold, Tony. Don't fall into these fucking trappings. The act is so hot right now. And we know we're expecting the split and we're expecting the match. Don't wait until then people go, because these same bloodline lovers are going to go back at it. If we stretch it out, they're going to be like, yeah, man, this is really you losing gas, isn't it? Whew, they should have done that in July. Why did they drag it out so much? You know that was going to happen. And the double clothesline spot, when they they teased it twice and people booed. And when they finally got it, everyone was up on their fucking feet. What are we doing? Like, you can only drag this shit out so long and move on to something else. And while MJF is a fantastic babyface, he's convincing me he's a heel. And he's going to shit all over Adam Cole, and that's what we want. And Roderick Strong still has to factor into this in some way, shape, or form. I don't know how yet, but, him popping in last night going, trying his best to emote. God bless him. Thank God he's such a good pro wrestler. Am I right? Oh, listen. This is where I'm at right now. I think this is a great angle. I think the matches are what they are. They're not, it's not keeping me up at night, but it's getting the audience excited. It's getting people excited. It's getting the fans excited. But what are they excited for? They're excited for the turn. They're excited for the match. What is it? It's like live fast, die young, leave a good-looking corpse, right? And I feel that's what we should do with this before bad sentiment starts developing. And then when we recap this in 3 years, we're like, yeah, it started off really strong, but man, it sort of petered out. Like, in 3 years, if we're sitting here saying, man, this just came in a house of fire and it torched everything. What a great angle we had, and then it led to the feud and the match and so on and so forth. That is a much better overall analysis of the thing, rather than sitting here and going, they shouldn't pull the trigger on this. They should put this should be the main, they should drag this out to Double or Nothing 2024. I'm like, this is fucking nonsense. Nonsense. So look, I combined a couple of things here. I broke the order of the show. So we're gonna, I talked about the promo, well, the interview backstage, and the match. So I jumped around a little bit. So let's move back a little. Talk about Britt Baker defeating Kayla Sparks. Little minute-long squash for Britt. Again, I was curious at some reactions. I was like, oh, is that it? Is that just a squash? That's all it is? What were people expecting? I don't know what people... I guess people were expecting an angle. But I am completely okay with superstar Britt Baker coming out, squashing a jabron. We love Kayla Sparks. It's not the point. But crushing local talent... Is that better? And getting some heat back. And I can see Tony Khan going, yeah, this is actually a good idea because I want my top woman in the division, and don't let anyone tell you different. I want my top girl in the division to go out there and get some of her heat back. She hasn't won a singles match since March. Britt. Britt Baker, who makes everything about herself in the division, right? That same Britt Baker has not won. This is her first singles win since the winter. So, I think it's fine. The more you think about it, the more it makes sense because she's lost number one contender 4 ways. She lost, the tournament. If I know the ranking system doesn't exist in AEW anymore, but you can think about it in that term where you're like, well, Britt has to build herself back up to be a contender again. That's all. I have no issues with this. Were people expecting Mercedes Moné to show up because they were in Boston? I don't know. Does she even still live in Boston? I'm pretty sure she doesn't. Anyway. But I get it. It's the local crowd. It's fine. Don't have to explain it to me. Oh, to note though, after the match, see, I'm all over the place. I got myself all worked up. I have no sense of right or left anymore. Jesus Christ. We're going to go back to the blind eliminator tag team tournament final. Because after the match, look, Garcia and Guevara go up the ramp defeated, and Chris Jericho was on commentary. And, he's like, good job, boys, this close, and he's there to welcome them. And they just walk past them. So there's still stuff bubbling there with Jericho and Callis. And this is going to turn out to be a pretty big angle, I think. But then after that, we get FTR coming out. Wait a second, they don't work on Wednesdays. I thought FTR were anti-everything that wasn't CM Punk. What is going on? What? The populace of internet fans have proven me wrong, or have been proved wrong, or I don't understand what is going on. I have yet been told that FTR want to be on Saturdays and only Saturdays. But there they are on Wednesday night to confront their new number one challengers. And Dax and MJF, you could tell there was a little more venom to that confrontation than just like, oh yeah, we're gonna talk shit to each other. No, you could tell there was a little something there. There was a little extra chomp there. So when Cole and MJF show up on Collision in 2 weeks, like, I'm already into this. I'm like, oh. And I think that inevitably in this match, the shtick will have to be at a minimum. Because, Dax Harwood is a very serious professional wrestler, TM. So, I think, look, I'm already jumping too far ahead. And, this is good. This is good. This is good. This is good. Renee Paquette, she's having an easy night. Usually she's running all over the place, going from set to set. Now she's with Darby Allin, Nick Wayne, and the Best Friends. This is all a lot of talk here. All sets up what these folks are going to be doing in the Rampage Rumble, as well as an international title match that Orange Cassidy is going to have against AR Fox at the request of Darby Allin. Orange was like, yeah, Darby was like, AR Fox looked after me and so on and so forth, and I want to look out for him now. And Orange was like, I'll do it. We're cool, guy. Cut back to commentary, and Chompy, the Shark Week mascot, is behind commentary dancing, and I am convinced Taz, in his mind at that very moment, was like, I could choke this guy out. I think he was legitimately annoyed. And I think like for a minute, he's like keeping his cool, but he's like, just give me the cue, and I will slap a Taz mission on this kid. I will choke out this fucking shark. Is Chompy the saddest corporate mascot? Because it's one of those, that cost maybe like $200, made out of fleece. And the word, like, it is, you'd think they'd have a really nice fucking big mascot, cuddly and, that looks like you could give a big hug to with a big fucking head. You know what I'm talking about? Like the one that was on, that showed up at New Japan a couple of nights ago. And look, I said it then, but look, I'm not surprised because I'll tell you what, the Japanese have the strongest mascot game of any nation on earth. Any fucking nation on earth. No one touches Japan when it comes to mascots. It is ridiculous. They are leagues ahead of everyone. You think Disneyland is pretty fun? Wait till look, every fucking town in Japan has a mascot, and they're great. They're all great. And that every fucking event has one. Like, mascots are required, I believe, by law at this point. It's just great. So Chompy looking like ass is fine. I guess they have to pay Jason Momoa the big bucks, and they have to skimp on Chompy. But Chompy's going to need an upgrade at some point. I'm passionate about mascots. What do you want from me? And then we had the blood and guts match. Good night, everyone. Didn't that sound like I was wrapping it up? And then we had this. Didn't it? I'm sort of listening back to myself, and I'm like, wait, that actually sounded like you're about to wrap things up, but no. No. We're talking about this. You know what? I like this. I like this a lot. Is this a match of the year for me? No. But I like this match a lot. And, as far as a war game style match goes, this is one of the better that I've seen. I think there is a generalization amongst fans, and maybe even newer fans. Maybe this is, who maybe have not watched like actual war games, haven't watched, from back in the day, pre-WCW and all that. Or maybe they didn't even see like the Ring of Honor ones, the knockoffs, or the CZW ones. There's this idea that war games matches are like these insane things, like, and I don't know what they expect. There is such a thing as a bad war games match. I've seen a couple, but there is such a thing as a good war games match. And what makes a good war games match good is when it's brutal and violent, and people aren't throwing spots. This is not an idea. This is not a context for spot fests. Regardless of how NXT, WWE transformed the war games into, stunt shows and flips and all that. Your classic traditional war games, which is what this isn't a high spot spectacular. And maybe some people were expecting it, but it's a brawl. It's violent. It's supposed to get bloody. And it started off great. Claudio and Omega, both of the guys saying, yeah, we're going the distance on this one. That's fantastic. And a great exchange between the two. I'm looking at both of these boys go, and I'm like, can we have a match? Can we just have a singles match? Like, can these guys go 20 minutes just for for us, the fans. That was really good. Pac comes in next, then Hangman. I like that Hangman and Kenny showed some of their old tag team chemistry. We must not forget how fucking good of a tag team Kenny Omega and Adam Page were. And can still probably be, apparently. Mox comes in next, and I promise you, I'm watching this with Kristen. She can vouch for me. I'm watching this, and he's walking to he's doing his usual entrance from the audience. And I'm like, I wonder if he has his fork. I wonder if he has his fork in his boot or something. Because he's been all over Japan, and he's got this fucking fork with him. He's got a fork always with him. And he does have the fork. When he pulls out the fork, I'm popping him, then I'm going, he's got it! He's stabbing people with the fork. He brings in broken glass. And yes, it was probably fake glass. Because you know why I think it was fake glass? Because Claudio bumped on it. You'll notice Claudio doesn't do the big hardcore, shit. He doesn't do it. So that's how I think. That's how I figured that it was. It's probably fake. That and the fact that no one was bleeding really didn't puncture anything, and that's all right. Look, it's okay. Nick Jackson comes in next, and he has a fantastic segment. Nick Jackson, a hell of a worker. Everyone gets thrown into the glass. Yuta Wheeler comes in next, and he's got a chair, and he suplexes Nick onto it. Matt Jackson is next, then Konosuke Takeshita. Then Mox pulls out a bed of nails. And I'm talking like 12-inch fucking, construction grade, nails. Ones that you need, special equipment to nail into. It's like, I don't know what kind of nails they were specifically, but it's not like just, yes, little nails, for drywall. No, motherfucker. These were like the big thing. And Kenny bumps into it twice. He has Kenny bump into it twice. That's sicko. And then, to huge reactions, because no one knows who he is, Kota Ibushi comes out. And he comes to the ring. And he does stuff. Let's talk about Kota Ibushi, right? Because this was inevitably going to be part of the discourse, whichever way this went. And it went a certain way. And this is how I feel about Kota Ibushi's popping into AEW. I will say that when I saw him come out, I saw him hit the ring, I'm like, oh, he's already in Murder Ibu mode, right? Where he just like shuts down, no sells everything, and he's very methodical. Especially when he starts doing this, the straight punches when he's mounting Mox. I'm like, oh, all right. So I'm like, okay, this is where we're at right now. But I think throughout the match, I think he was a little slow. I found he was a little soft. I didn't see the snap that I really enjoy out of Kota Ibushi, and that is part of his moveset, his offense, where he's just like, he's laying into people and he's quick and, strong, that he didn't do flips again, like in the context of a blood and guts match. If he's not doing fucking moonsaults, it doesn't bother me. I think, were people expecting, what did I expect? Turn it on myself. Did I kind of expect Kota Ibushi to climb the top of the cage and, fucking dive off of it, moonsault? Yes, because that's Kota Ibushi, because the man's nuts. But legitimately speaking, if anyone, and I know there's some of you who, who listen to my review and who aren't as familiar with New Japan and Japanese pro wrestling, but you know the names, right? And you know this Kota Ibushi guy, and it's like, oh, okay, so all of the, Warren and people, they're all excited because Kota Ibushi's going to be there because he's a big deal. if this is your first introduction to Kota Ibushi, I completely get anyone who goes, I don't get it. What's so special about this guy? I completely get it. I thought this was very underwhelming. Kota Ibushi, to me, under-delivered. I don't think this was special. I dare say I have problems calling it good. And we can, look, I don't want to harp too much on his physique, especially compared to moi. But, Kota Ibushi is like a fucking god chiseled out of marble, right? Usually that you look at the guy and you're like, you're just in awe of his physique. Normally, he comes out, not good. There's not as, it doesn't have that definition. He's a little soft around the abdominal region. The haircut, no, that's the haircut. I saw a couple of folks going, what was that goofy haircut? Oh, that's the haircut. So I was looking at all this, and I'm like, I get it. If anyone was looking at this, they're like, well, okay, what's so special about this guy? I thought it was a bit of a downer. And it's not just because I saw him come out with the physique that he had, because, I was like, look, the last time this guy wrestled, like he wrestled on a regular basis, his last regular match when he was still with New Japan was in October of 2021. And his match after that, then he got hurt, and then there was the whole shenanigans. And then his first match back was with the GCW stuff, which was fine. But you're like, oh, clearly, he's not going crazy here. He's not going all out. It's but I see him here and I'm like, oh, there, he whiffed a couple of moves. He didn't have that snap about him. Yes, he he bumped himself into the tax after the match because yes, it's Kota Ibushi. Who cares? But I think his performance here and his presence wasn't as electric as it should have been, wasn't as grandiose. I don't think he even got a lot of TV time. But then there's production. We're going to talk about the fucking AEW production in a little bit. But look, my analysis despite the fact that, I have a soft spot for reuniting Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi, deep, rich history, personal, professional, makes me, makes your wrestling fan heart grow a size kind of thing. I completely understand if anyone looked at this and was like, I don't get this guy. I don't understand. I get it. I thought it was underwhelming. Yuta, Matt climbed the cage also at some point, and Matt does the locomotion Northern Light suplexes, and I am on the edge of my seat. And they tease, getting thrown off, and I'm like, honestly, I hate top of the cage spots just because of the history of top of the cage spots. They scare me half to death. And this cage was high. This was a high cage. So I was very nervous, but there was nothing much ado about it. Yuta gets the upper hand and then climbs back down. Why'd you go up in the first place, pal? But that allows Matt to drop some tacks from the roof from the top of the cage into the ring, which that's a fun spot. That's creative. Look, people are getting bumped onto everything in the ring, on the tacks, on all sorts of shit. Then Pac leaves because Claudio's been fucking with him. And Claudio fucks up a spot. Kayfabe, not legit. And Pac's like, fuck you guys, I'm out of here. Unlock, he gets some bolt cutters and removes the chains and he hits the bricks. Don Callis and sees the writing on the wall and he's like, and he gets his boy out of there. Callis was on commentary and he's like, nah, fuck this shit. And he gets his boy out of there. And then the Elite demolish Yuta. They beat him up. They use the thumbtack sneaker, choked with a chain. Big ass chain on top of that. And then the match ends. Now, from this point on, there is most of my gripes are going to be in regards to the extremely poor production from All Elite Wrestling's television crew. I thought that, and this is outside of the audio issues that plagued the evening and have become a recurring thing in AEW. I don't understand how fucking hard is to get someone in the world of entertainment who knows what the fuck they're doing to make sure that this audio gets mixed properly. Audio throughout the entire show last night was a disaster. Now, set the table. Let's get into it. Why, dear friends of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, viewers, listeners, why do you think Wheeler Yuta, why do you think the match stopped? Is it because Wheeler Yuta tapped? No. Long after the bell has rung, Tony Schiavone tells us, we have just learned that the match ended because Jon Moxley surrendered Wheeler Yuta. They did not get the finish on television. You want to talk about a disaster? And listen, production throughout the entire War Games match was completely off. We missed so many things happening because all of a sudden there's a couple of instances where someone's about to hit a spot and then suddenly we cut to a crane shot of the ring and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? And then the spot happens and I see it. I'm like, there it is. Why didn't we see it? And there's a couple of moments where Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi are hugging each other, standing arm in arm. The shit that people like myself and Golden Elite fans and Golden Lover fans wanted to see, we got none of it. Matt Jackson brings in his the tack sneaker, and I'm like, and it's Excalibur who says, "Oh, we burned it. Thank God, because I didn't see it come in." Now I get it. These things are supposed to be chaos. They're supposed to be all over the place, and I appreciate it. But then you should film it in that regard as well. And whoever's producing this segment should know when these spots are going to happen and where to position the people. That's why you have fucking producers who are there. This spot is coming up at this spot. This spot is coming up. This was all over the place. And they managed to fuck up the ending. Not the guys in the ring, mind you. They did their job. But Jon Moxley tied up in a handcuff, Cesaro out of commission, the two other dudes, the mercenaries, they hit the bricks. He's alone, he's tied up, he's seeing the kid, the little shit. He's seeing his young boy getting the absolute tar beat out of him. And he's not giving up. Mox does the right thing. He feels for this kid. Why does he feel for... See, why does he feel for this kid? Because unlike those two other schmucks, Yuta stuck with him. Claudio stuck with him. And why is the Elite winning right now? Because the Elite, the Golden Elite in this circumstance, they're friends. They stay together. Mox was really happy to have the upper hand with some angry people like Pac, like Takeshita, all people who had issues to bring them in, but at the end of the day, they were hired guns, mercenaries, who just like, no, it's getting too hot. I'm hitting the bricks. And we missed that moment, the moment where Mox is calling out to the ref. We're done. We're calling it. Because he The great story bump that we have here is that Mox realizes that the BCC are the only people he can count on. That they are his friends and they're his people. That Yuta, young guy, still has his entire future, his entire career ahead of him, didn't hit the bricks. And he took a hell of a beating. That was a very dramatic moment. And we were cheated out of it because of piss poor production. We're not on IWTV, folks. This isn't, I don't know, local indie number 63. Trying to mix the audio as the stream starts. Look, we got to turn up commentary a bit, lower the announcer mic. This is a fucking professional outfit on primetime television. What are we doing? So much about this match didn't hit because production wasn't there to back it up. And that's my main gripe with this match. And this is why I'm probably, not necessarily seeing this as a match of the year. And because I felt, there's stuff that happened that I didn't see that probably would have added to, but look, it just happened the way it did. And was this a great match? I think this was great. I think this is one of the better War Games matches that I've seen anyway. Right up there. Match of the year? No, I wouldn't say that. And, again, the expectations that people have, it's so long. Yes, these are War Games. Now, could the formula be tweaked a little bit to account for modern sensibilities? That I'm comfortable with, instead of, 5-minute intervals, you could shorten it a little bit, have the match beyond part B, get to the match beyond part faster. I think that would be a good thing because that's what you want to see, right? That's ultimately what you want. But, keep the lid on the cage. That's what makes a war game. Keep it brutal. Keep it violent. It's not about spots. It's about brawling. It's about, destroying the opposition. This is what it's about. I like the formula. I like the form. It worked. It was brutal. I liked it. And then on top of that, at the end, now we start getting stories, right? This is what I meant when I said at the start of the show, the review here, this is what I meant when I said that, now it kind of feels like the final episode of the season and we're about to move into some new arcs here. Because, now the BCC lost. And yes, I know Kenny post-match did We Respect You and they hugged it out and all this shit, but that doesn't mean it's canon. If it doesn't show up on TV, it doesn't mean it's canon, kind of thing. But the BCC now, this could transition them back into being baby faces very easily, where Mox, hugs it out and, do they hug in the BCC? I don't know, but it could be like, look, my boys, these are my boys. They stuck by me. Just like the elite stuck with each other. The big lesson that I'm taking out of here is that friends are important. Loyal friends that you can count on is important, right? And, he wanted to save Wheeler because Wheeler, never gave up. Even as he was being choked, as blood was pouring down his face, he never gave up. So that's something Mox can lean into. So this can all be about friends and his own friendship. So then what happens then? What could happen here? You could have someone come back from the G1, walk straight up to Mox, of course, when the G1 is done, comes back home from Japan, walks straight up to Mox and tells him, who wouldn't have walked out on you? And where the hell was Castagnoli? I'm just saying. You got a good grounds here for when Eddie Kingston pops back into AEW to come stir some more shit. And then, look, you've got more stuff out of this as well, right? Then you have Pac walking away. You have Takeshita walking away. Is Takeshita done with Omega? I don't know. But these are all residuals that the BCC will probably want some retribution on. Now, I know they set up Pac versus Claudio for Death Before Dishonor this Friday, but that's emergency booking. At least they were able to make a story out of it, but it's still emergency booking. You can still squeeze some blood out of the stone. I think there's enough new possibilities and different ways you can go here. And then you can, is this an opportunity then, now that the Elite have clearly returned as a unit? They're friends again. There's no more, does Hangman still get along with Omega and all that? All that has been cleared up. They're a unit again. They're tight. They're even bringing in their reinforcements from Japan. So we've got all of this together. So do we start putting Hangman back into singles? I think we do. Do we put Omega back into singles? I think we do. Do we put the Young Bucks back into the tag division? I think we do. I think now that we have to spread the stars out again. We have to spread these guys out. And we have to get them back on top of things. Now we have to re-inject them into top feuds, top spots on the card. There's 2 huge pay-per-views coming in 5 weeks, 6 weeks. I'm not going, it's too, we got to start building emergency. What I'm saying is that the pay-per-views are on their way, and we've got all these people available to go back to singles things or whatever. There's a lot of possibilities here. The Callis family thing is simmering, and something's going to come out of this that will probably impact a couple of members of the Elite, but they don't have to fight as a unit, maybe. I think faction war for now. I think we're good with faction war right now, and maybe we can go back to individual things, which doesn't mean that Callis can't have members of his group fight individual members of the Elite. What I'm saying is, everyone fighting as a group. I think we're good with that for a while now, I think. But this was great, and I'm really excited to see what kind of quarter hour this did. Or not just quarter hours this did. This feud that's been on fumes, that nobody cares for. I'm excited to see what kind of numbers it does. And there you go. That's my review. Went a little over the 1 hour mark, but went a little shorter than what I was expecting. I'm dosing myself more and more, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. But anyway, going to leave it at that. Thank you very much for listening and watching. One last chance for a like or a subscribe here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, or a review, a rating on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts or whatever. I, of course, as I mentioned, will be back. When will I be back? I'll be back tomorrow with another edition of I'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the G1 Climax 33 daily recap. Otherwise, I will be back on Sunday for the Collision review. So hope to see you there. And if not, well, we'll see you next time.